everyone, and happy Thursday. Welcome to UpNorthLive Unscripted at 6:30. I am Maya Engel, live in our digital studio, and today we're going to be talking about our top stories of the day. We're going to check in with Joe and get an update on your forecast. We'll see what our sports director, Harrison Beebe, is up to. And we have some pretty exciting stories today. First of all, I want to pull up our question of the day. It's been getting a lot of feedback. So if you haven't voted on it yet, be sure to do that. So the question today is, what is preventing you from purchasing an electric vehicle? Right now, 34% of people say the cost, 32% say charging concerns, 26% say reliability, and 8% say nothing. So I'm curious, those 8% of people who said nothing, maybe they already have an EV and none of these issues were really getting in the way of them getting one. So the reason why this is our question of the day is because our morning anchor, Brendan Kinney, this is a topic that he's been covering for a couple months now. I know he had a story on it a couple months ago, and he is working on another one that aired today about a woman who is leading the charge toward an electric future in Michigan. But he also goes into detail about why some people are not buying into the plans. So I'm going to show his package right now, but just a reminder, you can scan that QR code on your screen to vote in our question of the day, and we'll come back and take a look at those results, and we'll also read some comments. Right now, looks like more than 300 people have voted, and we have 390 comments on our Facebook post. So we're going to read through some of those, but first of all, just to give you a little more background information, I'm going to show Brendan's package right now.
Laser focused on building a mobility ecosystem in the state of Michigan that is focused on clean energy.
Justine Johnson is the Chief Mobility Officer for Michigan's Office of Future Mobility and Electrification. She's working to get more electric vehicles on the road. In order to make that happen, her team is focusing on infrastructure, the workforce to support that, along with policy. In order to keep electric vehicles powered up, there's a goal to put 100,000 chargers in place by 2030 to support 2 million EVs. There's also a plan to create a Lake Michigan EV circuit with charging infrastructure every 50 miles. The federal government is helping expand EV charging infrastructure in Michigan with a $110 million price tag. But will these efforts from the state affect electric vehicle sales? New information shows EV growth is slowing for some car companies. Ford's electric vehicle unit reported losses soared in the first quarter of 2024 to $1.3 billion. General Motors expects its EV business will turn profitable later this year. Stellantis said its European EV business was profitable last year. Tesla, which is the world's largest EV maker, reported the first year-over-year drop in sales since the pandemic. What types of trends has AAA noticed from drivers when it comes to interest in EVs?
You definitely notice the trend of growing, that more and more people are interested in purchasing an electric vehicle for their next vehicle purchase. Two of the biggest reasons for that being the cost of gas and the environment.
Only 25% of U.S. adults say they'd be very likely or likely to buy an electric vehicle the next time they're in the market for a new or used vehicle. That's according to AAA.
The experience of actually owning an electric vehicle eases one of the biggest fears of owning an EV, which was range anxiety.
We asked Johnson for her message to those who are skeptical about buying an electric vehicle. She suggests getting inside an EV to experience it firsthand.
I think a lot of people will have a very different level of understanding and appreciation for EVs. I think exposure is something that's so important. As someone who is an EV owner, I know the joy that I have of riding in a vehicle that is quieter and emissions-free is something that's really important.
Reporting for UpNorthLive News, I'm Brendan Kinney.
Keep forgetting to turn the mic on. I'll get better at this, I promise. I'm going to put up our question of the day one more time. So if you haven't voted yet, you can do so now. Again, what is preventing you from purchasing an electric vehicle? 35% are saying the cost, 31% charging concerns, 26% reliability, and 8% nothing. So as I mentioned, we have 392 comments on our Facebook post about this. So if you want to join in the conversation, you can go to that Facebook post, leave your comments. You can also comment right now on this live stream, and I will read some of those comments. I'm just going to read a couple that are on our Facebook posts. I don't have time to read all 392, but if you want, you can go and look at more of those. So the top comment that comes up right away is from Brandy. And Brandy says, I live in Michigan where the weather 6 months of the year at least has a great impact on the battery. The cost to replace anything, the cost of the car, the cost to power it, and the fact that I can see it's a bigger problem than a solution. I got 102 likes. So I think a lot of people are kind of agreeing with Brandy on that one. Let's see what else. Suzanne says, I live in an apartment building with no electric hookup in the parking garage. Definitely a big issue is the lack of infrastructure. Adam says the need to travel quickly, easily, and reliably over medium and long distances. Kimberly says the battery dying out in the winter, like a lot of them this past winter did. Thomas says absolutely everything about them. Ramona says the cost. Mike says cost and endurance. Cheryl says common sense, and I love my Jeep. That's totally fair. If you're pretty happy with your gas-powered car, that should be another option. It's just other on our poll today. Jaron says, I have one and I really like it. Only downfall is there isn't enough charging stations around. Kathy says the price. Karen says cost, cost, cost. Randy says cost. Jack says a bunch of dollar signs. So as you can tell by the poll results, it does look like cost is the number one concern for people, followed by charging concerns, then reliability, and then nothing. So it'll be interesting to see in these next few years if the cost starts to come down, if there is more infrastructure for charging stations. I know here in Traverse City, there's a few public charging stations, but then you also have to think about if you want your own charging station in your garage. There is, of course, the risk of potential fire. There's just a lot to consider when it comes to electric vehicles, which makes sense why people are maybe not totally on board just yet. But like I said, it'll be really interesting to see in the next couple of years how things change and if there really is more of a switch to electric vehicles. Kind of switching gears now, I'm going to take down our question of the day. We will pull it back up, and so if you haven't voted yet, you'll have your chance. Don't worry. But one of our other stories that we have been working on today is the asparagus crop. So May is asparagus month, and as many may have been anticipating, the asparagus crop is ready for picking. It does seem a little early this year, and based on our reporter Trevor Robideau, who worked on this story today, it sounds like that is due to the mild winter. So up and down weather throughout March made the start a little shaky, but a lot of rain and good weather recently has helped the crop. Pull up some video here of what Trevor got at the asparagus farm. And so as I mentioned, meteorologist Trevor Robideau, he has been talking with local farmers, and we are going to bring him in now. He is at his house, and let's add him to the conversation. I didn't keep this video up for very long, but I think Trevor's a little more important. So, hey, Trevor, how's it going?
Hey, I'm doing good. How about you, Maya?
Doing good. Thanks so much for joining us. Obviously, you're not at work anymore. You were off the clock, so we really appreciate you talking about asparagus. You have kind of become our asparagus expert at this point. It was pretty cool. Today, we were having our meeting talking about what Trevor knows, and my boss, Pat, was just like, so Trevor, what are some random facts about asparagus? And boy, this guy knows a lot. So we'll get into those random facts later. But first, Trevor, you did a story on this today. You talked to a couple of different experts, a couple of different asparagus farmers. So what is the overall outlook for the crop this year?
Well, Maya, it actually looks pretty good. So one of the people that I had spoken to actually, and I'm sure we'll show the full package at some point, but one of the people that I spoke to was the executive director of the Michigan Asparagus Advisory Board, who basically looks over the asparagus crop throughout the state. And she said that it was actually really good. And as you had mentioned earlier, the start was a little shaky. The weather wasn't favorable at first, kind of, we're like, how is this going to go? But the weather recently has been spot on for asparagus. So it actually looks really good. We've got good volumes coming out throughout the state, and some of the farms around in northern Michigan look pretty good as well.
So despite that shaky start and the warmer winter, that clearly didn't have too much of an impact.
No. So actually, one of the local farmers that I had spoken to had said that the warm winter didn't really impact us as much as we had originally thought it might. And so what really all that has ultimately ended up happening is we've started a little bit earlier from that warmer winter, the warmer conditions recently. We started the season a little bit earlier than we would have originally predicted, but the drought actually didn't impact us as much as we had originally thought, because we've been having so much rain come in recently that's helped really wet the ground and provide that moisture that asparagus needs in the early growing season to grow. So it actually, yeah, the mild winter hasn't impacted us nearly as much as we thought it would, other than the slightly earlier start.
Sure. So it's middle of May. Right now it's pretty warm, but it's northern Michigan. Middle of May, end of May can be a little unpredictable. So is weather maybe still going to play a role in the harvest this year?
Yes, certainly. Asparagus is, I mean, like, other than the skills of farmers, of course, who do an absolutely wonderful job on the crops around here in northern Michigan, all over the state, weather has such a huge role in growing asparagus. So what you would ideally want with asparagus is you want to have days like today, yesterday, where we had nice, clear sunny days for the majority of the day, temperatures into the 60s and maybe even a couple low 70s. And then at night, you get those cooler temperatures down into the 40s and maybe even a couple high 30s, where it doesn't necessarily stop, but it kind of puts a pause on the asparagus growth overnight. And so that way the asparagus doesn't become too much to handle for the farmers. It reduces the labor a little bit. And that way, when the sun comes back out during the day, it warms the ground, and it allows asparagus to keep growing. And the asparagus can grow as much as 3 to 6 inches in one day, depending on how good the conditions are. Now, the other concern, however, is at this time of year, there is still the potential for some frost, especially with the earlier start. We have to worry about that as well. Actually, our chief meteorologist, Joey Charleway, showed me an interesting thing today, that apparently the last average freeze in Traverse City is actually today, May 16th. But with the earlier start, sometimes there's the concern that really cool nights can cause frost, and obviously that hurts the vegetation.
So something we talked about earlier is that it takes a long time for asparagus to mature. Tell us a little bit more about that.
Yeah, absolutely. So asparagus is a really interesting crop, and I was very astonished by this when I talked to one of our local farmers about this. Asparagus is not like a lot of the normal crops where you would plant it once throughout the year and then it would grow, obviously, and then you would harvest it and then you'd have to replant. Asparagus is not like that. Actually, asparagus is what they would call a perennial crop, where you plant it once and it takes 3 years of growth before you can actually get some of those asparagus spears to grow, right? So it takes 3 years of growing before you can start to see the asparagus like this. That's right. I got show and tell. I bet you weren't expecting that. So before you get your asparagus that we would normally get commercially, it takes 3 years of growth. And obviously there's a lot of work that has to go into that, but the investment is very worth it, because one thing about perennial crops is once it does get to the growth where you can actually start to get those spears, once the growing season is over, the plant becomes dormant, and then it automatically starts growing the next season. And asparagus can grow consistently for about 10 to 15 years after it is produced, has gotten to the point where it can actually produce those spears. So it's well worth the investment. You put in the work for it to grow 3 years, and then you get this for 10 to 15 years. So that's really nice.
Asparagus is so interesting. These are all things that I had no idea. And yesterday, Trevor, when you came back from your story and you had your bag of asparagus, and he just goes into the bag, grabs one, starts eating it raw. I'm like, you're crazy. I didn't know people did that.
Yeah, so you ever have those weird moments in your life where you do something your entire life and you think it's normal, and all of a sudden one day you find out on just a random Wednesday you find out that apparently you're a weirdo? Well, that was me yesterday when I took a raw asparagus out of the bag and ate it, and everyone in the content center looked at me like I was a psycho, and I was like, wait, that's not normal. So yeah, that was my experience yesterday. Apparently a lot of people cook it. I don't. I just eat it raw. It's delicious. It's healthier that way. Yeah.
There you go. Save some time. Never change, Trevor. Thanks so much.
I will try not to.
And talking a little more in depth about the asparagus crop. Very interesting. So thanks so much, Trevor. Enjoy the rest of your night before you have to come back to work tomorrow. All right, we're going to take one short break. I'm going to put our question of the day back up on the screen. And when we come back, we'll check in with our chief meteorologist, Joe Charleboy. Welcome back to Up North Live Unscripted. We're going to bring in our chief meteorologist, Joe Charlevoix from the Storm Team Weather Center in now. And Joe, I'm so sorry. We normally start our show with like 45 seconds to a minute of first weather. And I just totally forgot today. And I just got right into the stories. I was just a little too excited about our question of the day. And our
had some important things going on. Yeah,
but you're here now. So today started off as a nice sunny day. Nothing could go wrong. And then the clouds came in, the rain came.
Yeah.
As you mentioned earlier, it's probably some needed rain.
Yeah, it is. And it's good to get some rain. And I think a lot of this is going to fall tonight, Maya. So I don't think it'll have too much of an impact tomorrow or on the weekend if you have plans. So it's always nice when you can get some rain, and especially when it comes at night as well. Let's take a look. This is outside of our studios near Traverse City where we just had some rain. I'll share the screen here so you can see it. That is the view right now. Can you see it, Maya? Just making sure.
I can see it.
Looks a little lighter on the horizon there, but that is a bit of the rain that we did have coming through. I want to show the drought monitor. This is updated every Thursday. Different agencies put this together for the whole country. And if you looked at this a month or two ago, much of northern Michigan was abnormally dry, and all of the eastern UP and then parts of Manistee County were under a moderate drought. Yes, there still is there in Mackinac County, southern Luce County, still a moderate drought, but the area has really shrunk. So the recent rains we have had have been good, and we're going to get a little bit more. Here's a look at radar right now, showing some of that rain sliding in. Let's head up here to the UP first. I'm going to slow this down just over the last hour, and then I'm going to take the satellite imagery off so it's a little easier to see. There we go. Some of the rain coming through here. Newberry, Sault Ste. Marie, you've had a few showers. Some pretty good rain right now, right over Beaver Island. Right there, right over St. James and brushing Emmett County. We've had some rain here in Leelanau County near Traverse City. And I'm going to stop this. Even a few right here out in the middle of Lake Michigan, lightning strikes currently. But what we get tonight is going to be more showery. So here's kind of a look at that. It won't rain all night. This is no steady rain. But you see these showers. It's 1, 2 o'clock. Maybe a embedded thunderstorm there. Can't rule out a rumble of thunder. Tomorrow, most of northern Michigan dries out. It looks pretty good. And then south of Alpena, east of I-75, we might get an afternoon shower storm right there later tomorrow. But the rest of the area should be dry, and then we expect what should be a pretty nice weekend. We're looking at a warm weekend coming up as well. It looks really, really nice. And from an outdoor standpoint, if you have outdoor plans, no issues besides that small chance for a storm tomorrow afternoon and evening, east of I-75. But look at Saturday and Sunday. Fantastic weather. And it looks pretty good, Maya, and it's going to stay warm, too, coming up here. For the most part, we're looking at 70s and in some cases, some 80s coming up here, at least through Tuesday.
Oh, I'm so excited. I'm ready. Bring on the 80s.
Right. Summer-like almost, yeah.
Yep, almost. All right. Thank you so much, Joe, for that weather update. We will see you tonight on Up North Live News at 11. Thanks for all your work and dedication. We are going to take one more break. I'll put our question of the day back up on the screen. And when we come back, we'll see what our sports director, Harrison Beebe, has been up to today. Stay with us. You are watching Up North Live News Unscripted at 6:30. Welcome back, everyone, and thanks so much for joining us on Up North Live Unscripted on this Thursday evening. Let's bring in our sports director, Harrison Beebe, live from the newsroom. Woo!
Man, giving me that stadium ovation as one person. That's pretty impressive.
Everyone, calm down, calm down.
Yeah, relax. We got business to attend to.
Yeah. So, Harrison, again, before we get into local stuff, I'm just curious what your thoughts are on not only the Lions' schedule, but also their schedule release video. I know you were watching it last night in the newsroom.
Well, I thought I told you my opinion of that last night. I was more curious of your thoughts because you hadn't really watched it yet.
I still haven't watched the whole thing. I started watching it again. I just don't know those two guys. So, like, for me, I'm not.
The Detroiters there, for those of you who know what we're talking about, the Lions do a big schedule release video every year, as does every NFL team. And they brought the two guys, I'm blanking on their names. They were on a hit Comedy Central show called The Detroiters. So they're really popular with fans in the Detroit area. I saw them at opening day. They did like the 7th inning stretch rally cry, and then they've been at a lot of Lions games. So they're kind of the big celebrity fans of Detroit sports at the moment right now. But yeah, the segment to me wasn't as kind of a bunch of stand-up bits. It wasn't as funny as I was hoping, but it's a lot of pressure to really come up with a creative video like that some teams have done every year. So, but yeah, Lions schedule looks good. 5 primetime games, and we'll see. Hopefully this is the year. I know you go every year on Thanksgiving. Hopefully this is the year they end that Thanksgiving drought with the Bears coming.
It'll be tough against the Bears, but I think they can do it.
And that's a good transition to our local stuff. We're talking about a local Bear, a Buckley Bear, Aiden Herond. She's wrapping up her senior year with Buckley. She's won 6 individual state titles in that time, or it might even be 8, actually. I think she won 6 in track and then 2 in cross country, and she won a team state title. That was a picture from when they won the team state title last year at the track state finals, which is really hard to do because not the whole team doesn't go to those events. It's only your select few top runners that qualify, and then how they place determines what is the best performance for a team. So we caught up with her in this week's Jimmy John Sports Corner, and you're going to hear that interview tonight during Sports at 11. Or if you want to hear it now, you can head to our website, UpNorthLive.com.
But it'd be worth the wait if you do want to wait until Up North Live.
Either way, or you can watch it twice. Maybe you're not that busy today. You can prioritize that.
All right, thanks, Harrison. We'll see you tonight at 11. I'm going to take one more break. I'll put up our question of the day one more time. And when we come back, we'll take a look at those results. Stay with us. All right, let's take one last look at our question of the day. What is preventing you from purchasing an electric vehicle? 36% of people say the cost, 31% say charging concerns, 26% say reliability, and 7% say nothing. If you haven't voted yet, be sure to scan the QR code on your screen now. You can also join in the conversation on our Facebook page and our website, UpNorthLive.com. Thank you so much for joining us on Up North Live Unscripted on this Thursday evening. We hope to see you right back here tonight on Up North Live News at 11. Bye, everyone.